Alright, so straight into it with this one today, guys. So as you saw in the last video, I got the motor out and I was mentioning that I had to have that coupling modified. I got a quote off a metal shop to have it modified. It wasn't unreasonable, but I don't quite have the money to pay someone to do it, and I don't really want to wait to have this done, so I decided to go fuck it and just buy some of the equipment that I need and do it myself. So, and I can do it myself. I've got some extra equipment around the place, and you just get to see a video. That's some better lighting right there. You just get to see a video of me doing it and what needs to be done, what's involved, and all that kind of jazzmatazz. So let's get into it and let's get started. Okay, so I have my coupling set up here. I probably should have filmed it before I got this all centered and level and lined up perfect and everything, but you get the idea. That's the coupling. Ideally, this would probably be better a job to do in a lathe, but I don't have a lathe and I couldn't afford to buy a lathe on a whim. One day I'll have a lathe, but you know, this was just a lot better option. Second-hand drill press. So I've got the drill press, and what I'm going to do is this is obviously lined up dead center and level. I've got it all right. So this is going to be clamped into place with two G clamps I have with some of these. So they go on there and you clamp that in place so it can't move. And this is a metal hole saw because I wasn't able to get a drill bit the size diameter that I needed, so we're just going to have to go really slow, like I said, make sure everything's clamped in a spot, make sure I've got it dead center, dead perfect. So what we'll do first is I'll actually do a score, so we'll push it down while it's going, just give a light score, lift it up, take this out, or not take it out, we're going to take this out, or see if we're going to look and make sure that score is perfect in line with where it's supposed to be. And then position it again and go nice and slow with a bit of cutting fluid and just cut it down. And then once we've got that part done, once we've got the diameter of the inside shaft, I guess you call it, drilled out, I've then got to drill a keyway in here. So that just involves drilling a hole in there and putting a grub screw in there so it can lock onto the shaft of the electric motor. So with that said, let's try and get some footage of this going and happening. Okay, so that's our score made. Now I'll take this out. Well, actually, I might not take it out because I might be able to position it right. Because you can see here, luckily I've got these where the grooves were on the shaft is pretty much the diameter of the new shaft. So they make for a good gauge of whether I've got it centered or not. And by the looks of it, I'm ever so slightly off, because you can see here, see how the score makes a little rim there, and then here it's not. So we're just going to give this a very light tap in the right position, because this really does have to be perfect, and then I'll continue on. So let's do that. Alright, so I've just given that a couple of taps with my hammer to try and reposition it. And we'll see how we go. I'll make us another score and see if I do better this time. Okay. Yep, I've done a lot better there. You can see I've got that score perfect. perfect all the way around. It's a bit hard to tell because you can see here, but I can see, you want to be able to tell on the camera, but I can tell from the deepest score I just made from the original that I've got that pretty much bang on where it needs to be. I'm happy with that. So now, like I said, it's just a matter of making sure that's nice and tight, going nice and slow, and making sure I keep spraying on something to lube this. You can see I'm just using WD-40. I tried to get some proper cutting fluid, but couldn't find any at the shop, so this will have to do. But I'll see if I can get this camera positioned somewhere so I don't have to hold it, because I really need to focus on this, and we'll get this cut. Trick is every time it starts to get like that, spray on a bunch more lube, try and go down again. Halfway through. You just get the idea. I use two hands. Working so far. We're about a quarter way through. It's cutting quite nicely, and there's no blue burrs coming out, so the drill bit's nice and sharp still. So I guess we'll keep going. It seems to be center still. I'm keeping check on all of that. So far so good. Touch wood. Okay, so we've come into a little bit of a roadblock here. My whole saw has gone completely blunt and won't drill anymore, but did get quite a fair bit way through. You can see there, that mark is how far I got through, so I got about probably nearly an inch through, which might actually be enough, but if it's not, I'm going to have to buy another one of those to go further in. But yeah, good news is it's nice and dead center. I've just got to clean up these bits here, but no, it's all center and true, which is good. So what I'm going to do now is just clean these bits up and see how this fits on the motor shaft. Well, I do believe some magic did just happen. So I've just been running some calculations, and the amount that I've drilled into here is 20 mil. I've measured that. I'm not going to measure on camera. Look. That's a bit over 20 mil. And then we've got the plate here is 15. Now, the shaft on the new motor is 40mm, which means if we put that into 2 and then another 2, that was 1.5, which means if we slide, that means it's actually half. Wait a minute. It means it's actually 5mm too deep. So what I've drilled out here is perfect. So, because once this slots onto the new shaft and this plate's on, that'll give me the perfect alignment for where this needs to be. Because you can see, luckily Pascal was smart and put that mark there, because when this was slotted onto that, that's where the shaft ended. So I know that position is where this needs to be able to slot onto the gearbox shaft. So with all my calculations, it should work, which means the next thing I got to do is drill a hole in the side here and tap it out with a thread and put a little grub screw on there, and we're in business. Right, so I've got it set up here ready for the hole we drill for the grub screw. Luckily they have these 2 grooves, which is perfect just to keep that nice and steady there, and I've just slid that underneath there so it won't move that way, so it should be nice and stable. I'll see how I go one-handed. If this starts to move a little bit and I need to hold it, I might have to try and position the camera somewhere else and not film it, but we'll see how we go, hey? Because that's where it needs to be. The grub screw is a 6mm bolt, so I'm drilling a 5mm hole to allow for the thread to be cut. Yeah, it's pretty simple stuff. Let's go. Yep, I need 2 hands. Sorry guys. Alright, time to drill the keyway. There we go. That's the keyway drill. We'll probably forget about that first one. It's a bit too close to the end of the shaft, so I might just leave that. We'll just tap this one out here, and that's perfect. So we'll get onto that next day. See? All cut. That's my threaded hole done. She's ready for the grub screw now, so I've just got to wait for my mate to come around here so I can get him to give me a hand to carry my motor out here, so I can see if this coupling I've modified will work and slip onto the shaft and lock onto it. Fingers crossed it will. It should. Everything's up to scratch, so we'll see that bit next. Just to quickly show you, there's the finished product complete with grub screw. So in case you haven't you haven't gotten the idea by now, shaft goes, that slots over the shaft, and then you do that, and then there's a little groove in the shaft, and then so you just line this, twist this around, line with the groove, and you just do that little grub screw up real tight, and that goes into the groove of the shaft on the motor, so this can't spin on it. So yeah, that's the coupling. That's what joins your electric motor to your gearbox. Pretty simple. Hooray! It fits! So as you can see, this is the old motor sitting here. This is the new motor. Not much difference in size between them. This one's actually slightly narrower, but there's a big difference in power. That one there is about 4 times the power of that one. So yeah, size doesn't really matter in electric, it's just how they're built. This one's built a lot better. But yeah, that's the coupling on there. It's all nice and solid. The key ends work nicely. It fits the shaft, and it's running around nice and straight and true. I've put it's a bit hard to do with the camera on 2 hands, but you put the pole in there. I've spun it around to make that watch for the gap, and it's by eye it's running true. By doing that, it's running true. So I'm happy with that, and it's on there nice and tight. I put a bit of Loctite on the grub screw there just to make sure it doesn't come loose, because you don't want that coming loose in your bell housing, because that's going to be a pain in the ass to get fixed up again. So I've Loctited that, and yeah, now the next step is probably putting that mounting plate on there, bolting it up, then putting this up, marking the holes, taking it off, and doing all that jazzmatazz. But you'll see that in the next video, because this video has gone long enough. So yeah, catch us next time. Thanks for watching. If you watched this far, at least you get to see how the coupling's made. Yeah, the next video, the new motor will be going in the ute, and hopefully giving it a test run. So catch us then.